Hello and welcome to News at 10 on Rajya Sabha TV. I am Aishwarya Kapoor with you. Let us quickly start with the headlines. At least 22 people killed in a fire in hospital in Odisha. Reports say the fire broke out due to short circuit in dialysis ward. Chief Minister orders probe. Prime Minister offers central assistance. Pakistan violates ceasefire again, resorts to shelling along Lelosi in Rajouri in Jammu and Kashmir. A day after attending BRICS summit, China backs ally Pakistan, says it is against linking any country or religion to terrorism. This after Prime Minister Modi's remark calling Pakistan mothership of global terror. Supreme Court to hear Karnataka's plea challenging Kaveri Tribunal's order. Court to hear plea a day after high-level panel submits assessment report on issue. Report says Karnataka and Tamil Nadu both facing acute water crisis. And Iraq's military inflicts heavy losses on Islamic State as operation to recapture Mosul enters the second day today. UN warning for over 1 million people in the city caught in the crossfire. Our top story this morning, at least 22 people have been killed after a fire broke out in a hospital in Bhubaneswar in Odisha. Now, the state government has ordered a high-level probe into it. The Prime Minister has also directed officials to offer all possible help to treat the patients.
In one of the worst such incidents involving hospitals in Odisha, a massive fire broke out at the Institute of Medical Sciences and some hospital on Monday evening. The fire is suspected to have been triggered by an electric short circuit in the dialysis ward on the first floor of the hospital. It then spread to the nearby ICU.
19 people have been confirmed to be dead. When we have received 19 bodies in the two hospitals, Amri and Capital Hospital.
More than 500 indoor patients were trapped inside the building when the fire broke out. At least 7 fire tenders were pressed into service to control the blaze, and over a dozen ambulances deployed to shift the critical patients to other hospitals. Many patients were rescued by breaking window panes. Many of the victims suffocated to death.
माननीय मुख्यमंत्री ने आरडीसी लेवल इंक्वायरी का ऑर्डर किया है, तो आरडीसी सेंट्रल डिवीजन वो इंक्वायरी करेंगे.
Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik described the incident as very tragic and directed government hospitals to provide necessary treatment to patients. The state government says it will review the situation and decide whether a police case needs to be registered.
Permission is given by the fire department, but implementation is the responsibility of the hospitals. And we will now make sure that all hospitals are strictly following whatever precautions have to be taken.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed anguish over the incident and directed officials to offer all assistance to the state. Health Minister JP Nadda also directed AIIMS Bhubaneswar to provide all necessary support.
स्वास्थ्य मंत्री जी को उन्होंने निर्देश दिया एम्स की ओर से सारे व्यवस्था करनी चाहिए. मेरे को भी उन्होंने निर्देश दिया कि वहां की एम्स के साथ बातचीत करके हमारी ओर से सारा सहयोग राज्य सरकार को मुहैया करवाने के लिए मैंने वहां की एम्स की डायरेक्टर से भी बात की. उन्होंने सारा व्यवस्था वहां भी लगाई है.
The state government says it will bear the cost of treating all the 106 patients who have been shifted to various hospitals. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, let's listen into some more reactions coming in on the tragedy.
19, though this number may change because some patients are in critical condition. The Chief Minister visited the site of the fire, that is some hospital, last night, and also the Capital Hospital, which is the major government hospital where most of the patients have been shifted. All efforts are on to provide them proper treatment and to ensure that no stone is left unturned.
Well, for more details, let's go across to Mr. Hari Bharati, who is a local journalist there. Thank you, sir, so much for speaking to us. The last when we had spoken, you had confirmed 19 deaths in the fire at the Bhubaneswar's SUM hospital. Now, over 100 people are injured. We would want to know what is their condition.
About 106% has been admitted at various hospitals, and government priority is both state and central government priority is to save them, and many of them are admitted in ICU. And Navin Patnaik, Odisha CM, and Health Minister Atul Sadesati has just now visited Amri Hospital, where 38% has been admitted. Then they both went to AIMS, and they are visiting, and they are supervising the treatment. And any problem, they have directed all doctors to their main priority should be save the life of those who are survived.
Sir, now short circuit is said to be the reason at the moment for the massive fire. Any update on that?
No, just 19% death is confirmed, and till now official not declare any death, and they have told that only 160% has been admitted. But some hospitals, other patients, they have left the hospital to various places, and the cleaning work of the hospital is now going on. And JP Nadda, Health Minister, will visit today after directions from PMO.
All right, all right. So Chief Minister Patnaik, who's also visited the injured in the hospital, he has also declared a free treatment for the patients. He has also briefed Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the entire situation. This is one story that we'll keep tracking through the day. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us this morning. Let's move on in the bulletin, and there's a report of another fire. Now, 2 people have been killed in a fire that broke out in the Cafe Parade area in Mumbai. Now, 11 people have been rescued from the fire that broke out in the Market Chamber, a high-rise building in the area. Now, 10 fire tenders were pressed into service to douse the fire that is now under control. Well, the fire broke out on the 20th floor of the residential tower in South Mumbai at 6:37 in the morning. Now, residents in the building were fast asleep when the fire broke out.
टोटल अराउंड 11 लोगों को हम लोगों ने सुरक्षित जिंदा बाहर निकाला. उनको उसमें से एक जो है 2 जन है वो इंटरनल स्टेयरकेस के बाजू में सर्वेंट क्वार्टर्स होने की वजह से, सर्वेंट रूम होने की वजह से, जिसपे बग बेड पे सर्वेंट है, इंटरनल स्टेयरकेस का जो सीधा अंगार है वो सर्वेंट क्वार्टर में लगने की वजह से वहाँ पे 2 जो सर्वेंट है वो काफी रूप से जख्मी है.
Moving on to some other news now, Pakistani troops have violated the ceasefire yet again. Well, this time they resorted to firing and shelling along the line of control in Rajouri district of Jammu and Kashmir. Now, Pakistani troops fired from small arms and shelled mortar bombs on the forward post along the line of control in Rajouri district, drawing retaliation from the Indian troops. Well, the firing has been reported from Nowshera sector as well. Pakistani troops fired 82 millimeters of mortar bombs, used small and automatic weapons in the firing on forward Indian posts in Lan Battalion area in Nowshera. Now, there has been no news of any casualty or injury in the firing. Few rounds were also fired in Nowshera sector late last night as well. Meanwhile, in related news, the Director General Military Operations, the Foreign Secretary and Home Secretary will brief the Parliamentary Standing Committee on External Affairs on the surgical strikes carried out by the Indian Army on terror launch pads few days ago. The parliamentary panel is headed by Congress MP Shashi Tharoor and will be meeting today when the briefing on Indo-Pak relations with specific reference to recent surgical strikes will be done. Now, the meeting assumes a significance as the government had earlier expressed reservations over briefing the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Defence on the same topic. However, after initial reluctance, the Parliamentary Panel on Defence headed by BJP MP BC Khanduri was briefed by Vice Chief of Army Staff Lieutenant General Bipin Rawat on the surgical strikes. And Home Minister Rajnath Singh has mounted a scathing attack on Pakistan, stating that the entire establishment in the country is engaged in fueling terrorism in India. While addressing the 2-day regional editors conference in Chandigarh, Singh said that this attitude of Pakistan is making the management of Indo-Pak border challenging. He also warned Islamabad that those who breed snakes get bitten by them. He accused Pakistan of adopting a very flexible approach to deal with terrorism. He also asserted that India is against Pakistan-sponsored terrorism and does not breed any hatred towards Pakistani people. He further said that if Pakistan is keen to wipe out terror, India will assist it to do that, especially in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir.
अगर पाकिस्तान का इंटेंशन यदि साफ रहे तो भारत भी पाकिस्तान में पाक ऑक्युपाइड कश्मीर में आतंकवाद के खिलाफ अभियान चलाने में पाकिस्तान की मदद कर सकता है। यदि पाकिस्तान चाहे तो भारत की मदद ले सकता है। भारत मदद देने को तैयार है।
Meanwhile, the Congress has criticized Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar for his remarks on the surgical strikes and the army. Now, calling his view an embarrassment, party spokesperson Manish Tiwari charged Parrikar with giving credit to the RSS for the surgical strikes.
The Defence Minister is very quick to credit everyone from mythology to the RSS for the operations along the LOC. This leads to two inescapable conclusions. Number one, Manohar Parrikar does not deserve to be the Defence Minister of India. Number two, that the operations along the LOC were unfortunately targeted more at domestic consumption rather than changing the behavior of the deep state in Pakistan.
And a day after Prime Minister Narendra Modi called Pakistan a mothership of terrorism, China has strongly defended its all-weather friend, saying it is against linking any country or religion with terror. Now, responding to Prime Minister Narendra Modi's comments during the BRICS summit, China Foreign Ministry said that it is against the linking of terrorism to any specific country, ethnicity or religion. Now, China Foreign Ministry spokesperson also said, and I quote, "Everyone knows that India and Pakistan are victims of terrorism. Pakistan has made huge efforts and great sacrifices in fighting terrorism. I think the international community should respect this," unquote. Let's move on in the bulletin. While Vice President Mohammed Hamid Ansari is in Algeria on the second leg of his two-nation tour, earlier in Hungary, he addressed students at the Corvinus University in Budapest. He said that public disaffection from the three functioning of the elected bodies is breeding cynicism with the democratic process itself. He also said it is imperative that corrective measures are taken to reinforce public confidence in the ability of the system to deliver.
On the last day of his Hungary visit, Vice President Mohammed Hamid Ansari visited Corvinus University. Speaking on the achievements and challenges of the Indian democracy, he said, though public participation in the electoral exercise has increased, lots needs to be done to sustain public faith in democratic institutions.
The superstructure of a democratic polity and a secular state structure put in place in modern India is anchored in the existential reality of a plural society.
The Vice President stressed on the removal of malpractices ravaging the electoral system. He said that no state funding is possible without radical reforms in poll campaign and political finance.
At the same time, living societies also introspect from time to time, recall their foundational principles, and assess the work still to be done. These, in India's case, are inscribed in the preamble and the text of the Constitution.
Interacting with students, the Vice President added that India does not believe in lobbies and power blocks. He exhorted the age-old Indian dictum that the world is one family.
The requirement of bridging vertical and horizontal developmental gaps is accepted as valid, but in varying degrees, by all segments of opinion, and is sought to be addressed through strategies of inclusive development. The government accords it high priority in its socio-economic policies.
After wrapping up his Hungary tour, the Vice President reached Algeria on the second leg of his two-nation tour. He was received at the Hawari Boumediene International Airport by the Chairman of the People's National Assembly, Mohammed Larbi Ould Khalifa, and other members of the government. He was accorded a ceremonial welcome and inspected a guard of honor. The Vice President later visited the El Alia Cemetery in Algiers and paid tribute to the memory of the martyrs of the National Liberation War. The Vice President is set to meet the top leadership and discuss bilateral ties with them. Sandeep Yash and Chetan Datta's report from Algiers, Algeria for Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, we'll take a very short break here. Stay with us.
Tales that inspire. Stories of social change. A salute to diversity. Promoting public discourse. Events that motivate. Inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries.
Welcome back. Now, in an unprecedented order, the Supreme Court on Monday summoned Justice Markandeya Kaju to appear in person before it to point out the fundamental flaws as claimed by him in the sensational Soumya rape case. Now, while issuing notice to Justice Kaju, the bench quoted his Facebook post criticizing the Soumya case verdict, which said it is regrettable that the court has not read Section 300 carefully. The judgment needs to be reviewed in an open court hearing. Unquote. Now, in his Facebook post, Justice Kaju had criticized the apex court, saying it had grievously erred by not holding the convict Govinda Chami guilty of murder in the case. The bench also kept the review petitions filed by Kerala and Soumya's mother in abeyance, saying that it would debate with Justice Kaju on his Facebook post. Now, following the apex court order, the state as well as Soumya's mother had filed review petitions. And now an update on the Kaveri water row. Well, a three-judge bench of the Supreme Court will begin hearing the case today, a day after a high-level panel formed by the centre submitted its assessment report on the issue. Now, in its report, the panel said that both Karnataka and Tamil Nadu are facing acute water crises and suggested doing away with the outdated and unscientific water application techniques. Well, the panel in its 40-page report has noted that farmers in both the states were in severe distress and adequate crop compensation must be provided to them. Meanwhile, on Monday, thousands of protesters participated in the rail roko demonstrations in Tamil Nadu, demanding the centre to constitute the Kaveri Management Board.
Farmers in Tamil Nadu went on a 48-hour rail roko agitation across the state to support their demand for a Kaveri Management Board. Opposition parties, including the DMK, joined the protest. Leading a procession at Perambur, DMK leader M.K. Stalin was detained and later released by the police. In Pudukkottai, hundreds of DMK cadres blocked trains. More than 2,500 workers from the left, VCK and MDMK also staged protests in Thanjavur and Cuddalore. They were later detained by the police.
The union government should constitute the Kaveri Management Board immediately as per the direction of Supreme Court. This is our main demand, only one demand.
In Thanjavur district, the police arrested several farmers protesting on the rail tracks. More arrests were made at Pollachi, Metupalayam and Sulur railway stations in Coimbatore district. There is a heavy deployment of police forces at railway stations across the state to maintain law and order.
Farmers are suffering. There is no water. There is no, all the three season crops have failed. At about 17 to 18 lakh hectares of land is without water. Where will the farmers go? They will have to commit suicide. At least now the government of India should put pressure on the government of Karnataka or form the management board so that the control of Kaveri river goes to the management board and water is released to the Tamil Nadu farmers.
Meanwhile, a high-level technical team submitted its findings to the Supreme Court. The committee said farmers are suffering from water deficits in both Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. It suggested cooperation and efforts to give some relief to farmers in both states. The Supreme Court had sought the team to assess realities in the Kaveri basin areas in the two states. The court will hear a case filed by Tamil Nadu on the Kaveri river water sharing on Tuesday. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And the crucial three-day meeting of the all-powerful GST Council starts today. Well, the meeting is to decide on the tax rate and sort out issues like compensation formula for rollout of the new indirect tax regime from 1st of April next year. Now, with the Finance Ministry setting 22nd of November as the deadline for building consensus on all the issues in the Council, The meeting is significant as it will decide on the most crucial aspect of the tax rate that will have a bearing on the common man. Well, at its previous meeting last month, the GST Council, which has all state finance ministers as members, had finalized area-based exemptions and how 11 states, mostly in the northeast and hilly regions, will be treated under the new tax regime. Now, today's meeting will also deliberate on the vexed issue of centre retaining power to assess 11 lakh service tax filers under the new dispensation. Well, the Finance Ministry will try and reach a consensus on the key issues so that the subsequent central GST and the integrated GST legislations can be introduced in the month-long winter session of Parliament beginning 16th of November. And now let's take a look at the events that are lined up for the day in the day ahead. On his maiden visit to port-bound Himachal Pradesh, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate 3 hydropower projects and address 2 rallies in Mandi in Nahan. The Prime Minister will be accompanied by Power Minister Piyush Goyal. The State Assembly elections are slated next year. Foreign Minister of Myanmar Aung San Suu Kyi will call on President Pranab Mukherjee today. She will also meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi and External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj. Suu Kyi is also expected to attend a business event in the national capital. Iram Sharmila is likely to launch a political party today to contest the forthcoming 11th Legislative Assembly elections. Now, Sharmila, remember, was in a hunger strike for 16 years, protesting against the Armed Force Special Powers Act or AFSPA in Manipur. Well, on to the big international story. Well, Iraq's military says that it has inflicted heavy loss of life and equipment on Islamic State in Mosul as Iraqi-led forces try to recapture it from the terror group. The Kurdish Peshmerga forces are playing a key role in the offensive, which started early Monday morning. Now, experts say that retaking the city would be symbolic as Islamic State leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi had chosen Mosul as the place to announce the formation of a caliphate. But United Nations has warned that up to 1.5 million people could be affected by the battle for the city.
We are on the first day of what we assume will be a difficult campaign that could take some time. Early indications are that Iraqi forces have met their objectives so far and that they are ahead of schedule for this first day.
Iraqi forces have reported early gains in Mosul, about 24 hours into an offensive to reclaim the largest region in the country under the control of the Islamic State. A coalition of 30,000 Iraqi and Kurdish Peshmerga forces and Sunni tribal fighters began their advance after months of planning on Monday. Bolstered by initial gains, Iraqi forces are continuing their march into the city, already having captured close to 200 square kilometers.
200 kilometer مربع رزقار كراوة.
Up to now, 200 square kilometers been liberated.
أما قناغي كما بو رزقار كردني موصل لروشهالات و لباشوري موصل اوبراسيون كدسي بكردوا وهو بشا لبيني.
The advancing forces are, however, expecting to encounter fierce resistance from IS fighters in the city who have had months to prepare for the battle. There are about 5,000 to 7,000 of them in the city. IS deployed suicide car bombers throughout the day on Monday. The UN has expressed concern over lakhs of residents of Mosul, many of whom could not flee. Civilians here face potential threats from sniper attacks, booby traps, crossfire and explosives. Anti-IS coalition acknowledges the battle would be a hard fight, but say it was confident of victory.
كم جار أخواني پشمرگا و سرباز عراقی تکل دبی لشرکی واقع دجی تروریستانی داعش وما امید مانوایا.
Mosul is the largest city under IS control and its last remaining stronghold in Iraq, before being seized by IS in June 2014, forming a vital part of its self-declared caliphate across swaths of Iraq and Syria. Mosul had more than 2 million residents. Only about 1 million residents of the city remain today. But the remaining ones hope for a decisive win, though the battle may last weeks or even months if the operation to retake Ramadi is any indicator. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Let's now get you all the sporting action in Sports Beat. Bangladesh crushed Australia 88 in a league tie of the Kabaddi World Cup at the Trans Stadia on Monday. The massive margin of the win helped the Asian team shatter 3 records: most points scored in a match, a record victory margin, and the most number of all-outs in the match. Bangladesh still have an outside, however, chance to make it to the semi-finals, but they will have to rely on England to upset India in the next match. Serena Williams has withdrawn from the WTA finals in Singapore, saying that she is still working to recover from the shoulder troubles that hindered her in 2016. The WTA announced Williams' withdrawal from the event that starts on 23rd of October on their Twitter feed, posting a video of Williams herself explaining the decision. The 22-time Grand Slam champion pulled out of the 2 tournaments in China after exiting from the semi-finals of the US Open. Meanwhile, Australian tennis player Nick Kyrgios has been banned for 8 tournament weeks for his conduct during his defeat at the Shanghai Masters last week. Kyrgios has also been slapped with an additional $25,000 fine for conduct contrary to the integrity of the game. He was beaten 6-3, 6-1 by Michel Zverev in the second round of the match, in which he put a series of half-hearted serves and appeared to be walking off court before the unseeded German had returned the ball to him. And Pakistan defeated West Indies by 56 runs in its 400th Test match, chasing a total of 346 on the final day. The West Indies side was also spurred on by Darren Bravo's 249 ball 116, which proved, however, to be insufficient. Pakistan's Azhar Ali was adjudged the man of the match for his triple ton in the first innings. Well, that's it from me and my team in this edition of news. Thanks so much for your time.